Hey everybody, I'm glad you stuck with it and keep coming back to the channel. I know ever since chemo I haven't put a lot of mechanical content together, got all this going. Ever since chemo it's been really hard to get the mechanic stuff coming back because during chemo I lost pretty much most of the customers. Anyways, today what we're doing is, you can see this rear end's already tore apart. I did not do that. And then we got this rear end here. The owner of that single axle day cab KW over there owns these, and what he was going to do is he pulled this one out because there was a wheel locking up and somebody else tore all the stuff apart and just left it out to rust. The plan was to take that where that one came out of, put that in. Well, that is not going to fit. He already tried. That is a different length. It's got disc brakes, which means he would have to change either change it over to drum, or he'd have to change the master cylinder. There's differences there. We're not getting into all that. What the plan was is I'm going to take that one, open that one up, see what this center section that actually fits in here looks like. We're going to hopefully take that center section, put in this rear end. I have not been into this rear end yet. I don't even know what it looks like. We still got a bolt. Now I have taken most of the bolts out of the cover, one left in it. I wanted to start the video with one left in there before I take that last one out. We're going to see what this one looks like. I am hoping that the gear ratio in that one is the same as this. I don't know. I have over on a trailer, I'll take and show you what that looks like, how badly it's rusted out, or not rusted out, but it's all rusty. Hopefully we don't have to use that ring gear. If we do, then we got to do something about the rust. Hoping that it has this style adjusting in that rear end. And I'm also hoping that the gear ratios are the same, because then I don't have to change the ring gear. If they're not, the plan is to go ahead and take the rusty ring gear, clean it all up, put it on the carrier in from that rear end and put it in here. Let's find out how well that's going to work. Here's the ring gear that came out, and like I said, I'm going to count the teeth here, and then I'm going to go over that one and count the teeth on it. But you can see how rusty it is. The bearings, a lot of it's garbage. Wouldn't even trust the spiders in there, as rusty as it is, without cleaning them up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to count the teeth. Now the way I'm going to do it, so I don't get lost on where I start and stop, I have some liquid Teflon here. Then I'm just going to go ahead, put a little bit on the tooth that I'm going to end on. Go ahead and count all the teeth, and then I'm going to go over and do the same thing with the other ring gear. Okay, we do have a little bit of luck. These are the same way. Seeing how we don't have the caps from that rear end, these caps should work just fine. And you see these little locks here, that's what keeps those from turning after you get everything set. Thankfully this is all here, because I don't have none of it for the other rear end. As you can see, I put some Teflon there, and I'm actually come all the way over here. When I spin it around, if it disappears from here, it's not going to disappear from here, and I'll know exactly where to stop. The other rear end, or the other ring gear, I counted that one. That one's 41. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this around. This is a little difficult to spin from this end. I'll probably grab a hold of the pinion yoke and spin it at that point, and that way I can count them. I'm not going to bore you with watching me spin this and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until I hit the end. I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you what I wind up with. I just got done counting the teeth. We are exactly the same. 41 teeth on this ring gear, 41 teeth on the other ring gear. That means I don't have to clean the other one up. It's the same gear ratio. I can pull this whole center section out, put it in that rear end, go ahead and torque these back down on the other rear end after I get the backlash right. Actually torque them down, and I think then you set the backlash. About 30 years since I did one of these. We will bring you along with doing it. The great news is I can just transplant ring gear, center section, all that right over to the other one, as long as the teeth on the splines, the splines on the axles are the same. I don't know that yet. I will find that out shortly, and I will bring you along for that. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and start unbolting this stuff, unbolt the axles, pull them out before I do that, which means all these bolts here, because this is what's called a full floating axle. So these bolts all have to come out, pull the axles both sides, unbolt the center section, carrier, whatever you want to call it, unbolt that afterwards, and then it'll come out, and I do the same thing to the other one. Right now I'm going to get a socket and an impact and start taking all these bolts out on both sides, pull the axles out. Good news, and the axles, they both have 30 splines. What that means is the center section does not have to have the ring gear removed. And as you've seen, both axles are still in the donation rear end. I pulled the axle out of this rear end that's going to be going underneath the truck, and that is what is sticking in the center section in the splines. We have the same splines guaranteed, otherwise that axle would not have gone into the spider gear, which means a lot less work. We don't have to buy different axles, because with this rear end being a different width or length, depending on how you want to look at it, the axles are going to be a different length compared to the one with the rotors on it. Now, I know some of you people are out there, well, why don't you just make the ones with the rotors fed or transfer the rotors over? The guy that has the truck isn't planning on keeping it. He just wants to be able to have the truck drivable because he's selling the truck. He's not going to put a lot of work into the truck. And I'm just getting him a rear end so he can slap it back in, have it to sell the truck. Don't want to take shortcuts here. Still going to do this the right way, set the backlash, torque it, everything down, replace any seals that needs to be replaced, all that stuff. I'm not taking a shortcut because everything from that center section matches up with the axles, with the housing, with the pinion gear, and the gear ratio for the front rear end. It saves a lot of work. So now all I gotta do is clean everything up. Like I said, replace any seals that needs replacing, torque things down, set the backlash, button it all up, and he'll have the rear end back. Thank you, and I'll bring you along to finish this all up, setting the backlash and torquing and all that. I went ahead and cleaned up the axle surface where it meets the hub on both sides, plus I cleaned up the hubs, and then I went ahead and cleaned up the pan and the pan's meeting surface. Then I went ahead and cleaned the entire inside because there was shavings from the old one. All I did was set this down in, put the caps in place. I went ahead and tightened the bolts down, and then I backed them off because we got to adjust the backlash. And all that's going to be is, I've already got the dial indicator set up, and once I turn it on, I have to zero it, and then just keep moving this back and forth until I get my proper setting, because I'm going to have to turn this one and this one, and that's what's going to allow me to move this center section back and forward this way. The backlash is the amount that it moves against the teeth of the pinion, and further you move it away from the pinion, the more you're going to have. Closer you get it, less you're going to have. Setting up a dial indicator really isn't all that difficult. This is a Harbor Freight magnetic holder. It does just fine. I had a digital one that I was going to use, but when I went to turn it on, I couldn't get it to work. It was also Harbor Freight. Unfortunately, the digital one they don't offer anymore. At least when I clicked on their website, I couldn't find one. But they still offer the dial indicator, and this one is manual. Digital one, once you turned it on, you just hit the 0 button and it would 0 out, and then you could start checking your backlash. This one here, I got the magnetic holder set up. It's fairly snug. It works good enough for this. With the manual one here, you put it to where you can see how I'm up a little bit. You want to make sure that it does move a little bit. That way you know you get good solid contact. Then you can just turn the face here around. As you can see when I'm moving it, it's sensitive enough where it moves the needle. And I'm just bringing it around to where when I let go, it's going to read 0. As you can see, it's there on the 0. And then setting the backlash isn't all that difficult, especially on this where there's no shims involved, because these rings right here, they turn, which allows this whole piece to move either way depending on which way you want it to go. You loosen up one, tighten up the other, and it just slides it. Now you have to make sure that these caps are in place to help hold it, but they can't be tight enough to prevent the sliding of the races in the caps, because that's how it's going to adjust everything. Feel the backlash, if you notice, just touching. That's how sensitive it is. That's the backlash. Actually, we're right at 10. What I want to do is I want to have it at 8, because this particular rear end, when we looked it up, the window is 6 to 10. I mean, if I tightened everything up right where it's at, it would be just above the window. What I need to do is I need to move the ring gear just a tiny bit. I mean, just a sliver closer to the pinion. I don't know if you can hear it. That's the teeth hitting each other, the ring gear and the pinion. That's what the backlash is the amount of movement that there is between the, basically you're against this side of the tooth, and then you want to be on this side of this tooth, and the movement from when you leave one side and hit the other side is backlash. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this one a tiny bit to allow me to move this whole ring gear this way, so it's against the pinion just a little bit more, and then I'll tighten this one, turn it this way so it tightens up against it again. Unfortunately, I can't do that and hold the camera at the same time. There isn't enough room to be able to mount this thing anywhere to show. Once I get it set, I'll go ahead and show you what the backlash is. Anyways, my digital, I pushed the button to turn it on and it wouldn't come on. It was a Harbor Freight that I've had for years. Unfortunately, they don't actually offer the digital one anymore at Harbor Freight, so we wound up getting this one, which, as you can see, it's made in China, but it's a dial indicator. It works on the same principle, but you have to get it set, and this particular rear end is supposed to be between 6 and 10 thousandths. We want the backlash to be somewhere like an 8, to be right there in the sweet spot. That way, if there's a discrepancy a little bit on the indicator, usually it's like 2 thousandths, it'll still fall within that 6 to 10. It's not that difficult. You just have to, on this one, turn this one and this one to move the ring gear to get the numbers right. We got it pretty close to being 0. This indicator here, as you can see me just putting a little bit of pressure there, moved it. We want to get it down. You can turn the glass and the numbers turn. So you try to make it as easy as possible. Get the arm on 0 so you can go up to 8, and then tighten the thumb screw, and as you can see, it's moving with the thumb screw because I'm moving it. But here's another little trick you can do. You can move the whole ring gear to get it to set at 0 like that, and then you just rock it back and forth. Are we on? Oh wow, we're close enough to 8 right now. I mean, it might be 8 1/4, 8 1/2. No, it's probably 8. Okay, so in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten these bolts down, and then I'm going to recheck it, because these bolts that are holding the caps in are not tight. As well, see if I can turn this one here. Yeah, I can turn this one here. As you can see, they're not tight, and when I tighten them up, it might change the setting. You want to have them snug, but you want to be able to move it and try and get it close, and then tighten the cap bolts down. Go ahead and recheck it before you put the little locks in place, because you may have to loosen up these rings, because these are the locks for this style, and they go down in these holes right here, right like that. I'm hoping you can see it in the camera, and this bolt here holds it in place. Now there is a tiny bit of wiggle room that you can go a little bit with these and tighten them down, but these are designed to help keep them from being able to move on the adjustment. But right now I'm going to take the ratchet and tighten them down, and I'm going to check it again, and then I'm going to check, see what the torque is. I think it's somewhere around 140, 160 foot-pounds, and I'll put a torque wrench on them, tighten them down, torque them down, check this backlash during the whole procedure, because it may move when I tighten these bolts down. We'll find out. If you enjoy the content, I do appreciate it, and let other people know. Hit that thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe if you already haven't. I'm going to try and keep putting out more content. It's kind of hard. We do have a surprise coming up, and like I said, this rear end belongs to the same owner that we have, that single axle KW, and he provided us with a surprise that we've been trying to come up with for a couple years. If you want to see that surprise, keep coming back and checking the videos. I'm not going to show that surprise today. I'll probably put that video up with a surprise sometime this month. I'm not sure exactly when. But everybody have a better day, and thank you for coming back and watching another video. And I did make an error. The cap bolts are at supposed to be 135. So I went ahead and got my torque wrench out, and if you can make it out on the camera, I do have it set at 135. It'll click when I get to that point, and then I'll go ahead and tighten up the locks, those little bolts right there to lock those rings in place, and then I'll clean up the gasket surface and go ahead and put gasket maker on there and bolt the gasket up. We have another part on this rear end that we're gonna do in a little bit. Ran into a new problem. I was tightening up. As you can see, I was using a ratchet, not an impact. When this rear end showed up, there was no bolts in where the cover goes. They were all in that rear end over there. When I cleaned the rear end out before putting the center section in, I did clean the bolts out. I actually stuck a pick in there, cleaned them out, used brake clean and everything. As you can see, I was putting the cover back, or the cover on, because this is the cover off of that rear end. This one didn't show up with a cover. When I was bolting the cover up, broke 3 bolts. Now, what I'm going to do is I have some left-hand drill bits that actually I got from Harbor Freight couple years ago, and I'm going to try and drill them out with a left-handed drill bit, because sometimes you get lucky. I mean, I've been lucky in the past where when you're drilling out the broken bolt, drill bit will catch and bring the broken bolt out, and then you don't have to tap or rethread the hole or anything like that. That's what I'm going to try and do. I know I'm jumping around. I'm in the videos, it's not showing I'm jumping around, but I am. We went ahead and we drilled out the holes that we could. This one here, it's not on the very top, that would be here, but it's above the tube, so it's not going to have a lot of pressure as far as fluid goes. But we got this one drilled out and we got this one drilled out. Now, we did take 2 other bolts out, and the only reason we did that, we took this one out to check the hole and size and that, and we thought we had a tap for this, but we didn't, and we wound up messing up that bolt. So I took another bolt out, this one here, and I took it to the hardware store with me. Spent 12 bucks on, we got 4 bolts. That way when we deliver this back to Ron, if he wants to try and get that one out, he'll have a bolt to put in it. But we also got a tap, and I'm going to clean all these threads out. This one, this one, this one, and this one, before I put any of the other bolts in. And like I said, if he wants to try and get what's left in here out, we can provide him with the tap and another bolt. He's more than welcome to try. Like I said, we're doing this because he's a friend and we like helping our friends out. But all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in there, run it down. I got a small crescent wrench that I'm going to use to just keep screwing it all the way down. Hopefully it'll screw down without a lot of effort, especially in this one, because we didn't have a problem with the bolt in that one. And then I'm gonna do this hole and this hole, this one, and try and straighten them out, because we didn't get exactly center, and I'm worried that we may have messed up the threads, and there has to be a reason why this thing got stuck in there in the first place. So I want to, what they call, chasing the threads to make sure it all goes down. Then I'll go ahead and put the new bolts in. And we have one old bolt, so we basically have 5. We got 5 holes if he decides to try and get the bolt, what's left of the bolt, out of that one. I mean, this is just boring stuff, so I'm not going to bore you with it.